Hey babies, it's your favorite host, Mr. VMG, back at it again with another episode. Let's get into it. Anna Wintour is resigning as the editor-in-chief of Vogue Magazine. The streets went into a frenzy when this happened because obviously she has been at the helm of Vogue for more than 37 years. That's a huge change for the magazine because much of what we know as Vogue Magazine today and the culture and the cultural importance of it is because of Anna Wintour and the people that she was working with. You know, it's inspired so many different movies. Anne Hathaway, Meryl Streep in The Devil Wears Prada, and there's actually a part 2 of that movie, you know, that's coming up. So I wonder if, because part 2 is in the production, you know, it's in the works, if this departure that Anna Wintour has made will actually influence the movie as well. Because obviously they were it wasn't based on really like a true story per se. But the more important question is, who is going to replace Anna Wintour, darling? You know, I do think it is time for a black person. And the only people I can think of really who've worked with Anna Wintour and somewhat are on good terms with her, who are black, are Laura Roach and Edward Eiffel. Those are the two people I can think of. Laura Roach is more of a stylist. I'd say he's not necessarily as experienced within the publishing and editorial side of fashion. Obviously, he's worked with Anna Wintour for just the recent Met theme, but he's more of a stylist. I'd say Edward Eiffel more has a background of journalism and essentially editing because he was the Vogue editor for British Vogue. So he knows a thing or two about fashion, about running a fashion magazine. And under his era, Vogue saw kind of a cultural evolution of it being more black and it being centered around appreciating the heritage of black British people, just black celebrities across the board, because he is a black British person, but of, I think it's Ghanaian descent, but if it's not Ghanaian, it's of African descent in any case. So there was a lot more appreciation of Africanness and African standards of beauty as collaborated and made to life by Africans and black people themselves. So I think on the back of Vogue having had this tailoring of black style theme, I think it's only appropriate for somebody black to come in and completely change the magazine and essentially to be in the most powerful seat in fashion. Now, I mean, it is also said or it's alleged that, you know, Anna Wintour will still remain as the global director of publishing. Essentially, she'll still be within the Condé Nast publishing house in a very senior role, meaning she'll be overseeing whoever is the new editor-in-chief of Vogue, as well as all of the editors and all of the teams of the different magazines that Condé Nast owns. So she's still, in effect, the boss and has control. I guess the only position that's really technically open is a puppet position, I'd say, for EIC, because she's no longer EIC, so she doesn't really have two roles that she's focusing on, but she's still in every sense of the word where the buck stops. So it'll be interesting to see if whoever comes in will be empowered or not, and I would say they obviously would benefit from Anna Wintour's knowledge of the magazine and the publishing and how everything works. So yeah, I mean, my vote would definitely be Edward Eiffel, but apparently he's recently started his own company and stepped down from the post of, you know, being editor-in-chief of British Vogue. So I don't know if he'd still be interested in that regard, but yeah, I think he was great, and he's worked with Anna before in American Vogue back in the day. If you watched the September issue, you would know. So that's essentially how he even got to be the editor-in-chief of British Vogue, through that relationship. So I wonder who's going to replace Laura Roach. I think is pretty cool and happening and hip and has connections to designers and, you know, is a leading stylist in fashion. Does he have necessarily the acumen to be at the helm of Vogue? I'm not really sure, but that would also be another beautiful sign of the evolution of Vogue, and it's not just going to be another white woman or somebody who's out of touch. I feel, you know, although Anna Wintour may have been old, I think she had a team of people who were sort of had their ear to the ground, and I think that's what continued the magazine's relevance, the people that she was working with to put together everything. So whoever those connections are passed down to will definitely have a great responsibility. But obviously Vogue is a juristic entity. It will continue on, but will it still have the same respect that it has now? That'll be the $1 million question. So yeah, through Anna Wintour's leadership, we saw lots and lots of Met Galas. The Met Gala has literally become the most important event in fashion, and, you know, will those still be the same? What will be the culture of the Met? It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, that's a very interesting story, and yeah, what is the future of Vogue without Anna Wintour? And maybe it's also time that she did step down, because I think she's stepping down of her own accord and not because she was there and never wanted to relinquish power. I think it's about time. So I think that was probably the most graceful exit she could have ever made. Staying with the theme of Vogue magazine, Lauren Sanchez Bezo was actually on the cover of Vogue because she has married Jeff Bezos, who is Amazon guy and really rich and wealthy and stuff. What made the cover interesting was more so the wedding that came tandem to this whole cover, you know, all the people who were attending. So I found the guest list pretty interesting because I think allegedly her background is of being a reporter or a journalist. So a lot of the people who attended, I think, Kim Kardashian, all the sisters, the Kardashians were there, the mother, Leonardo DiCaprio, Asha, Oprah, Gayle, who else? And then also to an engagement party, there was like Katy Perry, Kim Kardashian, and also Kris Jenner. Like, it just felt, for me, the relationships of the people who were there to the people who were having the wedding were in question. So it kind of felt like, do these people know each other? Maybe they did know each other, maybe they do have a relationship, we just didn't know. But it felt kind of like unlikely pairings, you know, and was done to maybe have the effect that it did, which is people talking about it because all the celebrities were in attendance and it's a billionaire's wedding, so balls to the wall. If it was just a small intimate thing between these two people who are in love and are marrying, and it was just them and their family, and we kind of knew about it by virtue of the fact that somebody obviously mentioned it and they want to mention it, I think it would have probably landed more in a more authentic way. To be honest, this is kind of a moment, like if I'm marrying one of the richest men in the world, I'm going to invite anyone I want to invite. I'm going to make it a big, you know, thing, because there's technically no budget, so why would you not do the most? Why would you not have a wish list? Hey, I want to have Kim Kardashian at my wedding. Hey, I want to have this person at my wedding. I want to be that girl. I want to be phoned on by celebrities, you know, because wealth or marrying into wealth kind of gives you that proximity to celebrity, because a lot of famous people, a lot of wealthy people, the only thing that they want more than what they have is to be famous as well, you know? So that could have been that. It could have just been an aspirational plea to be included now into this zeitgeist and to be talked about in the same sentences as these people. You know, even though you have all the money in the world, you just didn't have maybe access to that kind of fame, you know? To have people who even just 5 people, the Kardashians, who in combination have more than 1 billion followers, it was just more so for the publicity of it, not because she's chilling there with Chloe one random afternoon. I feel like a lot of these celebrities are just only too willing to comply, because for them it's also like, oh wow, I'm being invited to Jeff Bezos' wedding, you know, when last, or when would you ever be? Like, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. So when I was younger, I used to throw a lot of big birthday parties, but as I've gotten older, I don't really throw them as much, because sometimes I feel like, well, why are you inviting all of these people? Because even though you are acquaintances with these people, you know them, but 99% of them probably don't really give a fuck about you or could care less, you know? So in that regard, I stopped throwing really lavish big parties, you know, on my own account because of that, because I just feel like there was no intimacy in it. Anna Wintour kind of resigned around the same time this cover came out, so like, was this part of the reason she resigned? Like, allegedly people are saying, well, this is like her last straw. I'm like, well, that's random, because I feel like she features people who are topical all the time, so maybe not. And interestingly, I also wanted to mention some of the outfits. Kim Kardashian was wearing this lingerie outfit to the wedding, and I'm just like, bitch, are you there to like get a man at this wedding? I mean, I guess going to the wedding of a billionaire who will probably have billionaire friends is the perfect place to meet really rich people who, you know, maybe in your league and you want to date. So Kim wearing that ridiculously skimpy ass, I'm gonna steal all the attention outfit to the wedding, I think was for that. She was shopping, you know, maybe not necessarily shopping for the groom, but you never know with people like Portia who exist in the world. But people like that do exist, is what I'm saying. You know, some people come to people's weddings to literally shop for the man who's getting married, or the friends of the man who's getting married. So you just never know what hoish missions she had in store, but the outfit was definitely giving. She came on a mission, and she came to be seen, darling, and not to be a supporting actress, even though that was her role at somebody else's wedding. Staying in the conversations of fashion, darling, so the Real Housewives of Atlanta released the reunion looks, and everyone is kind of gagging about the people were wearing. So they kind of had like a yellow theme, because I think they went to one of the islands essentially for their cast trip. So yellow and gold was kind of the theme, and all the girlies were like doing the most. And to be honest, my favorite looks definitely were Portia's look, as much as I don't really like Portia in that regard, because I don't think that she is probably the best friend Shamia could have. I think she's just, the whole season for me kind of felt like she was uncomfortable with her friend having a bigger role on the show, and maybe they made it an issue, or maybe that's what they planned to have as their storyline in any case, since she couldn't necessarily talk about her man. I still feel like she came through with the fashion. She was definitely the best dressed. Apparently she was inspired by Beyonce, and yeah, she killed the dress. She looked amazing, and it was definitely first seat worthy. The first seat girls actually were the ones who were the cream of the crop in all of the looks, and as it should be, because you are the ones where the camera will be, like, the camera will hug you the whole time, so you need to look good, you need to be melting. And Shamia looked just as beautiful, very tastefully floral, with kind of a very beautiful delicate material, so it was like a flower. I think Angela also looked really good. Her dress was like definitely more on the sexier side, like showing lots of skin. Everyone else was kind of not my cup of tea for different reasons. The worst of those were Kelly. Kelly's dress was not like the best looking at all. It just looked weird. The proportions were just weird. It was like short in the front, I think long in the back, and the voluminous nature of it with her small frame kind of made the dress look overwhelming, but also kind of fake looking, if that even makes sense. It's like it just did not look like something she would wear. It looked like something she was told to wear. So it just didn't really eat in that regard. She's such a sweetie, but like the dress was just not it. And also Phaedra, you know, I would expect nothing, you know, less than worst dressless from her, to be honest. Her outfit very much gave arts and crafts. Like that thing she was using to cover her sort of top was so weird. It felt very homemade, felt very amateurish. Yeah, that's that. Like the reunion has taped, the season's almost done. It'll be interesting to see how the reunion will play out without Kenya, Britt, and essentially the overarching storyline of season 16 that will not be told because the people were not at the reunion. So while I was surfing the streets of the internet, I came across this meme or post essentially, and it was basically talking about basketball players and their children. And I think, you know, in it they had Michael Jordan and his child, they had Magic Johnson and his child, and LeBron James and his child. And the comments were so disgusting because it was so obviously there are obviously allegations that Michael Jordan's child is very fond of Coca-Cola, you know, and this is all alleged. And also apparently Michael Jordan himself was very fond of a nice cola. So they were kind of insinuating the fact that in comparing these three great basketball legends to their children and ranking them according to their father's skills, and they were like, well, LeBron James is probably the best father because the other one is a geisha and the other one is very fond of the Coca-Cola and, you know, essentially doesn't have the most discipline, whatever the case may be, allegedly. So it also got me up in arms because I think every Nepo baby has a different journey. And one, for me, what triggered me is that just because a child is queer, you know, like EJ Johnson is queer and is proud of it, does not make the parent a bad parent. I think if the parent chose not to accept the child and made their life hard to the point where they couldn't live their truth, I think that would make them a bad parent. I think EJ Johnson is a great kid and, you know, is going on his own path and is not going to follow into the basketball, you know, path, which comes with a lot of pressure on its own because then you're directly compared to your parents, and he's completely different and he's doing well in his own lane, and freaking love that person and EJ, and I think he's wonderful. So I think from all of those three, I would definitely say that's the storyline, or that's the relationship I would relate to because of that, because he's queer and he's proud of it, and also kind of brings Dwayne Wade and Zaya Wade into the picture as well. And Zaya is trans, and, you know, would you say that he's a bad parent because the kid is trans? No, I think he's a good parent for even giving the child the space to self-actualize and to go on a personal journey, to find who they are and to live their truth. I think that makes them brilliant parents, and more parents should be like that. And obviously, to end off on an interestingly musical note, I came across the fact that Cardi B is releasing an album called Am I the Drama? You know, and it's featuring songs that she's released a long time ago called WAP and Up. And I saw that, I was like, you know what, I think it's just to get the numbers up on this album, you know. I don't think people are expecting new music from Cardi B, and so if we have an album that is comprised of some of the songs that she's released that have done well, then the album itself holistically will look like it's done well and it's sold quite well. But for me, that's kind of cheating, to be honest. And yeah, let people judge you off of the new content you've released and see how that goes. And to be honest, like, I wonder how it's going to do. The lead single's called Outside, and yeah, I do think the name of the album is probably appropriate. Am I the Drama? I think that is the good question to ask because it's probably quite rhetorical, but also has a very obvious answer, because the reality is we haven't had new music from Cardi B because her personal life has kind of taken over. People know her more for her problems that she's been having with her baby daddy Offset for the longest time, and her relationships with all these people she's sort of frolicking with, than for the music. And when you're kind of known for that, you become more of an influencer than a celebrity, even though she's got such a huge following. But it's like, people respecting you in the music game won't necessarily always prevail because you've kind of shown that it's not a career for you. It's more of a something to do to extend your reach and to maintain your reach, even, you know, to always have clout, always have people talking about you for some reason. But musically, I don't think she has that much respect in the game. And obviously apparently it's alleged that she doesn't really write her own music. And your girl Cardi, like, I wonder what content is going to be shown or is going to be on this album, other than the fact that it's just kind of marred by controversy. Is she the drama? I think she is. I think she knows that she's the drama and she's marketing it in that way. And she's literally just telling people, this is what I'm known for. Let's attach a sound to it and call it a day. I wonder if it'll chart, but knowing the politics of these games, mediocrity is rewarded, so you never really know. But yeah, that's Cardi's new body of work. Obviously, WAP and ABBA are great songs, but should they be included? No. You know, like what was a great little intro song before all of this came about? You know, it was a really great song. So she definitely knows how to make catchy music, but it's like the consistency is what the problem is, and I think sometimes people get tired of waiting for that because, girl, get it together. I think she definitely just focused on not entertaining her baby daddy and feeling like she is relevant because she continues to entertain the stories and the drama with her baby daddy. Like, that's not what we should know you for, unless she just never took the music thing really seriously anyway. So yeah, Cardi B, good on you for releasing new music, I guess. I think maybe it's time for a rebrand and maybe stick to your strengths. Like, if you are the drama, then stick to maybe doing a reality TV show and getting your coins that way, because music is probably not your consistent thing. Anyway, babies, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Messiest Bitch on the Internet. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and also follow us on Instagram at @BigWinEntertainment_, and I'll see you again on the next one.